All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're looking way beyond that standard 1-1 scoreline to uncover the true stories of the 2026 World Cup match between Portugal and DR Congo. Now, on paper, this looked like your classic David versus Goliath setup, right? But what actually went down was, well, it was a wild collision of crazy statistical anomalies, the rapid spread of internet disinformation, and honestly, a deeply moving human story of survival. We've got a lot of layers to peel back here, so let's get into it. Here is exactly how we're going to break this down today. 1. Setting the Houston stage. 2. Generations on the pitch. 3. Ronaldo, fact versus fiction. And 4. Wiss's incredible comeback story. Basically, we're taking a journey from the physical grass under their boots straight into the data, through the murky waters of fake news, and finishing up with a human story you will absolutely not forget.
So, Part 1. Setting the Houston stage in transforming Energy Stadium.
Now, transforming a massive venue for a global event like this is absolutely no joke. Think about the logistics here. NRG Stadium, usually home to massive concerts and sporting spectacles, had to be completely overhauled. First off, for FIFA compliance, they temporarily rebranded it to simply Houston Stadium. But the craziest part, the ground itself. FIFA rules strictly mandate natural grass. That meant the stadium's usual artificial turf had to be completely ripped out. In its place, organizers hauled in a freshly laid natural grass pitch, transported all the way from a farm in Colorado. They even had to set up these massive grow lights inside the arena just to keep the grass alive and pristine for the entire month-long tournament. It was literally the perfect, meticulously crafted physical stage for this clash. Moving right along to Part 2, Generations on the Pitch. This was a true clash of eras. Once the whistle actually blew, we saw this incredible generational gap that perfectly sums up Portugal's current squad. On one side, you've got João Neves. At just 21 years and 263 days old, he connects with a cross in the 6th minute for a beautiful header. Fun fact, he wasn't even born when his captain played in his first major tournament back at Euro 2004. That goal made Neves the third youngest Portuguese scorer in World Cup history. But then, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, you have the captain himself, Cristiano Ronaldo. At 41 years and 132 days old, he made history literally just by stepping onto that Colorado grass, becoming the oldest outfield player to ever start a World Cup match and tying the record for appearing in 6 different World Cups.
Now, look at these numbers, because the data really tells a story here. If you just glanced at that 75% possession stat, you'd probably think, wow, total blowout, right? Portugal utterly suffocated the ball. In the first half alone, they completed 490 passes. That is the most by any team in a World Cup first half on record. But check out the bottom 2 metrics. Despite barely touching the ball, DR Congo actually generated more total shots, 8, compared to Portugal's 7. And the metric that really tells you who was more dangerous, expected goals or XG, that favored DR Congo too, 0.82 to 0.69. So Portugal was just passing it around relentlessly without much bite, while DR Congo was incredibly dangerous every single time they broke out on the counterattack.
Which brings us to Part 3, Ronaldo, fact versus fiction, and the anatomy of fake news. So here's where things get really weird. While the Portuguese team struggled on the pitch and Ronaldo only managed a quiet 25 touches all game, the media noise surrounding him off the pitch was absolutely deafening. Let's trace how fake news actually spreads. A totally fabricated story started going around claiming Ronaldo donated 1.5 million euros to Palestinians for Ramadan. Media analysts tracked this down, and it started on May 14th on these obscure Albanian and Macedonian websites. The next day, a poorly translated version showed up on a random blog called 9sport Pro. By May 16th, the Venezuelan government-funded agency Telesur picked it up, citing a tweet from a Nigerian charity. And then boom, by May 17th, state-owned networks like RT and Sputnik were broadcasting it, sending it massively viral globally. It was completely untrue, but millions of people just accepted it as absolute fact. And honestly, this kind of thing happens to Ronaldo all the time. We really have to separate the internet clickbait from his actual verified charity work. Those massively viral stories you've probably seen, he didn't donate $8 million to Nepal, he didn't fund the Kerala flood relief, and no, he didn't build a pediatric hospital in Chile. But here's the thing, his verified reality is already incredibly generous. He doesn't need the exaggeration. He donated £100,000 to the cancer hospital in Portugal that saved his mom's life. He's been a dedicated ambassador for Save the Children, funding relief in Syria and Bangladesh. He even personally hosted a young Palestinian boy who survived a horrific firebombing. His real humanity is profound, it just constantly gets hijacked by websites desperate for easy clicks. Actually, speaking of his real humanity, have you ever noticed that Ronaldo doesn't have a single tattoo?
In his generation of footballers, that is incredibly rare. And there's a very specific physical reason for it. Back in 2011, his national teammate, Carlos Martins, revealed his son had leukemia and desperately needed blood and marrow. Ronaldo registered immediately. Now, if you get a tattoo, health guidelines say you have to wait at least 4 months before you can donate blood. So Ronaldo just refuses to get inked, period. He actively protects his body just so he can constantly be available to give blood and marrow to people who need it.
While Ronaldo protects his body to help others, our opposition hero had to fight an unimaginably difficult battle just to survive in his own body. Let's get into part 4, Wissa's incredible comeback story. The contrast here is just stunning. Yoane Wissa, the guy who scored DR Congo's equalizer, had a journey to this tournament that is nothing short of a miracle. In 2021, while he was playing in France, he lived through an absolute nightmare. He was the victim of a horrific acid attack. A woman literally broke into his home and threw a blinding liquid right in his face. He needed emergency eye surgery, and for a while, it wasn't even clear if he'd ever be able to see again, let alone play professional soccer. But he didn't just recover. He went on to score 49 goals for Brentford, earned a massive £50 million transfer to Newcastle United in 2025, and then he heads in a dramatic stoppage time equalizer against Portugal on the biggest sports stage in the world.
And to make Wissa's goal even more monumental, we have to talk about the number 52. That is the number of long, agonizing years that the Democratic Republic of Congo waited for a World Cup goal. Their last appearance? Way back in 1974, when the country was known as Zaire. They famously conceded 14 goals in 3 matches back then without scoring a single time. So for half a century, this nation waited to rewrite its global soccer history. And Wissa, a man who almost lost his eyesight and his entire career just a few years earlier, was the exact person to finally break that curse with a brilliant, perfectly timed header.
So it really leaves you thinking, when we watch a sporting event, are we just watching a 90-minute game? Or are we really witnessing this massive collision of fabricated myths, statistical dominance, and absolute human resilience? Look at everything packed into one simple 1-1 draw. Moving a natural grass pitch across the country. A team making a record 490 passes, but getting outplayed by a squad with just 25% possession. The internet spinning massive fake news webs around a guy who just wants to donate his blood. And an acid attack survivor ending a 52-year national drought. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other complex, incredible human stories are hiding right behind the simple box score of your favorite team? Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.